Good evening and welcome to our first show after being pretty much gone last week with NAM. Tonight, we're going to be talking with Mike Wieder. We're going to be looking at his book, Be the Difference Maker, and talking about the difference between DJs and entertainers and how you can become one and not the other, or maybe you are one and you are the other, or maybe you aren't one and you're whatever. Mike's going to explain all of that to us in just a few minutes when we'll be right back. Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJNTV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, DJ Trivia, Odyssey Innovative Designs and Cases, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and the DJNTV Insiders.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
All right, we are back with tonight's show. Thank you guys for joining us. I've seen folks are jumping in on both YouTube and Facebook. So if you're watching one and you want to get into the chat, the YouTube one is typically our best one. You can go to youtube.com/discjockeynews, and it will take you right to the live feed. There. Okay, Mike, we're ready.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to be talking about Mike's book, which I'm going to put that link for the book into the chats right now so you guys can check that out. But let's kind of jump into, Mike, the talking about being the difference maker, a blueprint for transforming DJs into entertainers. So, in essence, by reading that title, you're differentiating between the two. Let's kind of dig into, for those who are like, well, I'm a DJ, I'm an entertainer right there. There's a little bit of a difference. How would you explain that?
Well, in my opinion, and granted, it's an opinion, a DJ concentrates on the music, and some of the most entertaining DJs I've ever seen are amazing. The tricks they do, the juggling, the scratching are great. I talk about wedding DJs.
Sure.
A wedding DJ playing the music and not worrying about the crowd or not interacting, whether vocally or getting out on the dance floor, is a DJ. You know, they play the music, they hit the buttons, they make the announcements when needed. The basic. The entertainer takes it a little further. He'll interact. He'll learn about the crowd, whether through meetings with the client ahead of time or actually just interacting with the guest during cocktail hour, talking to him, just getting a little feel so it's more personal and not locking yourself behind the equipment.
Sure, and I think that if DJs listen to that, a lot of them are going to be able to put themselves in one position or the other, because as you kind of, and speaking for myself here, as I progress through the industry, I definitely can point to times where I started out and I was in that, in essence, DJ strictly, and how that has evolved in your career. Now, we were just talking before we went on that you started in 1982. You're ahead of me by a few years. You're actually 4 years. Started 4 years before me.
I'm old.
Yeah, well, no, we're not. We're just pleasantly young. We'll go with that.
I like it.
But when in your career, when did you find that point, or when do you feel as you look back that you made that transition from being a DJ to an entertainer?
It was around 1984, I think it was.
Oh, early.
When the electric slide came out.
Yep.
And I was I was spinning in a bar in Poughkeepsie, New York, and every night this girl would come up to me and ask me if I could play the electric boogie. And I said, I don't have it. I never heard of it. Mm-hmm. After the fourth night of her asking me, she brought the 12-inch cut. And I put it on, and the floor packed like I've never seen it before. But nobody knew the dance. So I made it my business to find out how to do the dance. I learned it. And the next time I played it, I went out there and led it.
Okay, so take me back to, you learned it. Where did you have to go to learn that dance? Because you're talking...
I went to record stores.
Okay.
There was a little record store in Newburgh, New York, that I used to get all my 12-inch cuts from. And the guy there knew it. And he taught it to me, the two of us in his little store on Broadway in Newburgh. And I said, okay, I'm going to try it. And we went to the club, and I ended up on the dance floor. And I said, oh, this is cool. And back then, we didn't have the wireless microphones like we had now.
Right.
So it was me with a very long mic cord on a wired mic, stepping over it, passing it behind my back, trying to do it. And I kind of got the bug that I like being out in front. And then I got my first wireless microphone, which was a Nady back in the day. And Jive Bunny and the Master Mixers came on, and I grabbed the microphone and run out to the crowd.
And work the crowd with the... That's
Oh, people love having a microphone stuck in their face.
Oh yeah, even if they were at that time the crappy FM wireless microphones, and I think if I remember correctly, I think the early Nady was an FM. They had some.
Yeah. They were horrible.
They were horrible. 20 feet away. But boy, when they could hear their voices over the system, that was.
It was a novelty.
Oh man, that was something.
Yeah.
Today's DJs just don't know the struggle.
No, I'll tell you a funny story. Back in those days, I was doing a wedding, and I didn't know better, so I set up my system. And in the next room was another DJ, and he had the same, basic DJ setup. And my crowd just sat down for dinner. And all of a sudden, through my speakers, you hear a voice saying, "Everybody up, it's time for the conga." And my whole crowd got up and started doing the conga. And I was just sitting there with, the photographer having dinner. Yeah, exactly.
What?
No idea about frequencies. It was just a horrible experience.
That is hilarious. And it's funny because it's happened to most of us at one time, at least those days.
Yeah, in those days.
Let's see. Donnie Lewis is joining us on Facebook and wanted to send a shout. Donnie, thanks for joining us tonight. We've got Jim Dahlia also out there on Facebook, and we've got Howie and Chris and Greg and Forerunner. A lot of folks jumping in on the Facebook and YouTube. So thank you for being with us. If you are on the Facebook feed, the link and such to Mike's book that we're talking about tonight is in the comments area, or not comments. Well, it's in the comments area too, but it's in the description area. And then, of course, on Facebook, we also have it in the description area of that. So you guys can go and click on that and either get the printed book. It's actually a true printed book, or the ebook. They're both there. Excellent. So let's continue on. We're talking a little bit about the way the difference maker, moving from a DJ to a more of an entertainer. So let's kind of dig into, Mike, why is that kind of an important thing to do for a wedding entertainer? Because a lot of people think, well, and our friend Joe Bunn and Mike Walter kind of had a discussion about this, whereas Joe is viewing things one way and Mike's viewing another. But there's a value to it. Let's kind of dig into that, why you should kind of be looking at becoming more of that person.
Well, how many times have you heard from a potential client, "You're all alike, you play music"?
Let's see, 3 or 4 hours ago last time. Yeah.
So there's a little more to it, because every couple that you're dealing with are unique in their own way. So find out why they're unique, and then take those ideas and those thoughts and maybe questions and incorporate them into the wedding, making their wedding one of a kind. And sometimes you have to create moments to make memories. Mm-hmm. And if you can take something that the bride and groom told you at an earlier time, at a meeting over the phone, and then bring it back at their wedding and surprise them with it. And I'll give you a good example. I had a couple, they were getting married on New Year's Eve. And when I met with them, we're just talking, and I like to talk to them and not at them.
Right.
I like to have a personal relationship with them. And the bride mentioned they love Buffalo Wild Wings. So I made a note. On my way to their reception, I drove by a Buffalo Wild Wings and picked up the Buffalo Wild Wings that they liked.
Sure.
And I brought it to the venue, and I asked them to keep it in the kitchen until I needed it. Right before dinner came out, went in the kitchen, got their wings, brought it back, presented it to them. The looks on their face that I remembered, that I cared. I have such a great picture of the two of them feeding each other like you would feed the cake to each other.
Right.
They were feeding boneless wings to each other. And it was just that little something that made a difference, because they still talk about that.
Right.
Every New Year's Eve, they post a picture of them eating Buffalo Wild Wings with meat and egg in it. I've brought bagels, I've brought ice cream, Stone Cold Creamery, because a couple said they never had it. So I want things to be different for them.
Mm-hmm.
If they tell me there was a special song they used to dance with their dad to, or a cousin, or doesn't matter, just something that was a memory for them. If I can bring that feeling to their wedding to make it more personalized, and I hate the word customized, because customized, you want a red car with a red ribbon, that's great. But if you want it personalized, you're going to have the stereo system that you want. You're going to put in the fuzzy dice that you want. You're going to personalize it for your taste, and something that nobody else will ever have.
Which would definitely be a huge difference maker between the all DJs are alike to being able to personalize at such a fine level. So as you're talking about getting this information about their ice cream and different things, how are you finding this information out when you're?
I find if you ask better questions, you get better results.
Give me an example of asking a question that would get you. We've always wanted to have Cold Stone ice cream. I'm trying to envision that conversation.
It's simple. Talk to them as a person. If they sit down and they say, tell me about what packages you have, I don't want to talk about business. If I talk about business, then they're getting their answer. I'm not learning about them. They're not learning about me. And it becomes how much, thank you, goodbye.
Right.
So I want to know how they met. I want to know where they met. What do they like doing? Hey, you guys going out for dinner after this? Where are you heading? Just little casual things that you can throw in. Even as simple as when I get a phone call. What's the first question 90% of the brides ask?
They're asking about the price, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. My answer is, before I could tell you that, I have one question. Is he or is she a nice person? And it throws them off. And they're like, what? I said, well, I don't want to talk to you if they're not a nice person. And they laugh, and it breaks the ice. And they forgot that they asked about price. And now, 20 minutes, a half hour later, we're friends on the phone.
Sure.
We're talking about, oh, you like skiing. I had a couple, they loved skiing. Guy was like, oh, let me show you some of my GoPro videos. So at his wedding, we hooked him up with a GoPro on his chest, and we did the introductions, and the introductions were GoPro'd as he came in from the bride and groom's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
It was something different that they didn't know I was going to do for them, because I asked and I made notes, and I care about what they want. The wedding day is not about me. And I tell my couples at the end of the wedding, and I get paid 2 weeks prior, so this really doesn't count. But I tell them, if at the end of your wedding, all your guests are talking about is, oh my God, the DJ was this, the DJ was that, I said, I shouldn't be paid.
Right.
If they come over and I'm included in everything, oh my God, this was the best wedding ever, the DJ was great, the food was great, you were beautiful, I did my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there to be the star of the day. Otherwise, I'd wear the white gown.
I guess there is that. I mean, I never thought
I do have the legs for it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So as you're finding this information out and such, now you find out that they love downhill skiing and such, or whatever the topic is. Are you then bringing these ideas back with your little ideas with this, or is it something that you're asking questions to solicit more ideas and have them kind of generate? I think the phrase is like kind of leading questions, that I'm wanting to lead them in a direction where I think I've got this really good idea, or is it something that you're able to say, hey?
Well, there's always an underlying reason you're asking. If the groom's telling me he loves skiing and the GoPro video, I can somehow work that into either photo booth ideas, how we can incorporate backdrops or video screens, and we can show some of his videos of the two of them skiing and doing montages. Everything I'm talking to them about, in my head and on paper, I'm writing down ideas I can have.
Mm-hmm.
How can I incorporate what they like, what they want to do into the wedding? If it's props for a photo booth because I know they like skiing or they like a certain sports team, I try to pay attention. Like I said, it's not my wedding. If I went in with the attitude I can get these people dancing and having a good time, that's okay. I can stop at any venue on a Saturday and walk in and get people dancing. That's every one of us can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you learn about the couple, you learn about what they like, what they don't like, what they want, what they don't want, you find out so much to make the party even better than it could be or than it would be. And for me, talking to them, if you ask a question and shut up, like the expression, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth,
Yep.
listen twice as much as you speak. Ask them leading questions. They will tell you exactly what they want and how they want it. And then your experience comes into play and you talk to them and you come to that common ground where we're going to have a great time.
So as an example, you're talking to them and you're asking, what kind of things they like, don't like, what have you. And this actually happened with me a couple of weeks ago as they came up and they've seen this really cool thing. They were at a wedding, and I don't know why they haven't seen this 47 different times, but it was the shoe game. They came and they saw a DJ do this a couple of weeks ago, and they loved how he did it. And she explained in detail how they did it. And there's going to be times like that where they have got a vision of something that they want to do. And how do you balance creating the vision that they want to do in a way in which they've seen it? Maybe that was maybe how someone else did it in that case, and maybe how you would put in your own personal version of doing this. How do you balance those two? But sometimes different things.
We all have our own individual personalities and sense of humor. And for me, my sense of humor tends to be very, if there's that line, I tiptoe that line.
Sure.
I don't want to offend anybody. I never want to hurt anybody's feelings, make anybody uncomfortable, but I will push the envelope and the line if I'm able to.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talk to a couple, if they want to do the shoe game, I'm going to try and get really deep into the questions. Nothing, R-rated,
mm-hmm.
but fun, things that people won't know. It's very tough when you try to explain something that's personality driven, because we're all unique and we all have our own ideas and the way things go. And I'll give you an example with my sense of humor. Years ago, I used to have this thing: if the groom would smash the bride with a cake, if I was close enough, I'd walk over and take a little of the cream off the bride's cheek and taste it and say to the groom, "Your wife tastes delicious." Now, I never meant that in any R-rated way. It was meant that the cake was delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably did that 100 times. At one wedding, a gentleman came over and said, "I'm going to kick your behind if you keep up the innuendos." And I had no idea what he was talking about.
Right.
And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You said the bride tasted delicious." And I said, "She did." And I turned away and walked away. And it got me thinking that I offended somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, I have never said that line again. But one of my employees did a wedding. And after the wedding, I did the follow-up with the bride. And I said, "How was it?" She said, "Everything was great, but Steve was not you." I said, "Well, we have our personalities. Was there something he did or didn't do?" When my husband smashed the cake in my face, he didn't say I was delicious.
Oh, she was looking for that.
She was looking for. So, when you talk to your couples and your personalities mesh and you know that they enjoy your personality and your sense of humor, that's what you have to. You're required. it should never be any other way. That is who should show up at the wedding. So if you joke around with the bride and groom in your consultation and they think you're hysterical, that's who they want to hire,
Right. Yeah.
and have as the voice and personality of their wedding. And there are too many in our industry who the person that they met with and the person that shows up at the MC at the event,
Yeah.
even if it's the same person, is not the same person.
No,
And you're doing a disservice to your couple. So for me, it's all about making that connection.
Now it's obviously an important thing with whatever we do, especially in this day and age. As you were talking about the cake thing, and it just flashes back to me of there's things that you can do in your part of the country. And when I'm out there and I'm seeing you guys at DJ Expo time, and just the talk in the hallway. I mean, it's
Right.
for those of you in the Midwest, we don't swear anywhere as close to as much as some of the guys from the East Coast. I'm just going to say it right out there. But there's even some of the humor, as you were kind of referring to, is that idea that the bride tastes good or doing that. I would have probably 2/3 of my audience cringe with that, just because there's difference regionally when it comes to things you can do. And how do you recommend DJs, especially when they come and they're talking to people and they're hearing and picking up ideas, how do you know how to handle those differences so you're not going to become that DJ?
Unfortunately, there have been times where I am that DJ and I try not to be. The truth is, there are different traditions, quote unquote, regionally. I've done weddings in the South, which are completely different. Even if I go 2 hours from where I am in central New Jersey, if I go into Maryland or Delaware or deep into Pennsylvania, they do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have a couple who may know me from New Jersey or New York and say, hey, we want to do that, but they don't do that in the middle of Pennsylvania, say, well, first, they do it if you ask them to do it. You're paying the bills. So if you talk to the caterer and say, look, we're bringing in entertainment from out of state, and we want to do this, we want to dance before dinner. The venue can say, well, we don't normally do that. Well, It's not up to the venue. It's up to the bride and groom who are paying the venue. So I don't know how it is. I don't believe you guys dance before dinner in Minnesota.
And typically not, but that was actually something that we started doing from my conversations at DJ Expo. I started doing that about 10 years ago, and there's a few venues now that have adopted that because it is kind of unique to their venue now. But most, as you kind of referring to, that they will kind of get bucky about that because we never do that. We always do the dance right then after the meal's all done and everyone's got the floor cleared. And okay, whatever.
Well, one of the things that we do in our company is something called the first dance as a family, friends included. And what that is, and trust me, even in New Jersey, I get kickback on that. But I never do anything without the okay of the bride and groom and then contacting the venue to go over it. What that is prior to the introductions into the room, I introduce myself and the company to the guests, welcome everybody. And we explained to them that our bride and groom said in this room is the best partiers that they know or the most important people in their lives, whatever comes out of our mouth. And they don't want you to sit there and watch them do their first dance. They want you to be part of it. So they're coming into a very upbeat song, and when they hit the dance floor, they want each and every one of you to join them on the dance floor for the duration of that song.
Sure.
And then we're going to fall into a giant circle, and they're going to do their first slow dance in front of the most important people in their lives. And they say, are we allowed to do that? And I said, yeah, there are no rules. To me, weddings are like Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right. There's no rule. If we went with wedding traditions, there would be sheep involved. There would be food fights. People would be kidnapping bridesmaids. Traditions change. So I have no problem being one of the instigators into that.
Yeah, with changing those, yes. Did anybody bring the camel? No. Why?
When the groom is bringing a goat to the father of the bride saying, I'd like to give you this in exchange for her, doesn't happen anymore.
2 goats. 2 goats. She's 2 goats.
My daughter is a 2-goat woman. There you go. It's a proud dad.
That's a great dad moment there.
I might have to use that. Oh boy.
So let's talk a little bit. One of the things that a lot of DJs, and there's been, because of NAMM, that's the toys gear time of year, and DJs of course want to, and we talked a little bit about this before the show, is they want to try to think that in order to be different, that they've got to add more things to what they offer. That the gear is going to set them apart. And it can, but
it can.
But what's
really simple? Up lights make a room look beautiful. Intelligent lights, movers, scanners make the room look amazing. If you have no music, nobody's dancing. A lot of people going, wow, that's pretty cool. But talent trumps toys. Trust me, if it comes out, I buy it. My wife will tell you, I have too much stuff. I have trailer, warehouse filled with toys. But those will not rock a party on their own.
Mm-hmm.
I turn on the lights without the music. I have a really cool looking room with an empty dance floor. So for me, my opinion is worry about you as a talent and how you're going to be able to create the atmosphere and the mood, and everything else is something that you can upsell. If you have a package and they go, yeah, we want that, we want the package with the lights, great. But you have to be the first thing they buy or invest in. And it's funny, in our packages, we don't have prices, we have investment options.
Okay.
Because they're investing in the success of their event. And what's the key thing? The person that's going to be the voice and personality of their reception. So if they're not invested in you, it's not worth it. And for me to schlep out all the toys and not provide the energy and the soundtrack for the party, the toys are nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, just because you own the toys, too many of us in the industry don't know how to use them. They don't know how to troubleshoot them. They don't know what this button does. They don't know how to make that do what they want it to do, but they own it. So if you're going to insist on using the toys, learn how to use them. There are enough videos, there are enough manuals, we can all learn, but talent has to be the first and most important thing, because you can go out, he can go out, she can go out, buy the same gear and do the exact same things at a party, but what's going to be the difference? The common difference is always going to be the entertainer.
Yeah, the talent of the entertainer, for sure.
Yeah, because you can go buy 4 moving heads, and I'll buy the same 4 moving heads. We can program the same, but we're not going to have the same results.
Yeah, for surely, and that's the human differences there. Mike, earlier you had dropped the phrase, their perception is your reality. And I wanted you to dig into that a little bit more, because I've used that in numerous times when I've been teaching DJs. And how, kind of explain that statement, their perception is your reality.
What they see is what they know. So if you're that guy, actually, let me give you a good example. I was doing a wedding, and I hate when people show up to check out the DJ.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I told them, they really were insistent. I said, I'm not inviting you to anybody's wedding because I would never invite them to yours. But I will be at a hotel, which is a public hotel, as opposed to a private venue.
Sure.
I said, I can't stop you if you want to peek your head in. So when they happened to show up, I was in the middle of being out on the dance floor teaching the electric slide.
Mm-hmm.
Monday morning, I called them as a follow-up. I said, I saw you stuck your head in. Do you have any questions? they said, you were doing the electric slide and we don't like that. And thank you for your time, and hung up. And their perception was, because they saw something they didn't like, that was what I always did.
Yep.
So their perception was, this is a guy that is, quote unquote, and I hate the word cheesy, but he's that cheesy guy that's going to be out there doing it. And my answer to that is, it wasn't your wedding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want me on top of a speaker wearing a chicken hat and a sequin jacket, which there is a picture from back in my Star DJ days, you know, if that's what you want, that's what I'll do.
Yep.
It's your wedding. I might not like it, but you do what the client wants. But what they see is what they think they know. And I was asked not to tell this story by a good friend of mine, but I'll tell you a very good perception story. Years ago, I got a phone call from a friend who said, I want to talk to you. A friend of mine called for a referral for their daughter's bat mitzvah.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was at my heaviest weight. And the woman asked my friend, did you think at any point during the party he was going to drop dead? Her perception was because I was big.
Right.
So I you know, being the jerk that I am, I called her up and I said, I want to assure you I won't drop dead at your daughter's party. And then I put it in the contract. I put a clause in there. Entertainer Mike Wieder promises not to drop dead at your daughter's party. If he does, you don't have to pay. But that was her perception, because I was what she saw. That's what she knew.
Right. Yeah.
Even though she never saw me perform at a party, she had an idea in her mind, because that's what she saw. If you see a tall person, you think they're good at basketball.
For sure.
And I'm a Knicks fan. It's not true. You know, they're not all good at basketball.
Oh, that's funny.
It's painful.
Yeah, I'm not a Knicks fan, so it's funny.
I am, and it's sad.
Yeah.
No, but that's the truth. A person looks at you, and what they see is what they know.
And you getting back to that, when you were talking about the folks who bop their head in, that's been something that I've had a rush of that recently, of couples who are like, oh, can we see you perform? Can we see you do a wedding? And I'm guessing that there's a list on Wedding Wire once again saying, you know, go see your entertainer. That's generally where those come from. Yep. And I flash back to the one time that I did that. It was a beautiful wedding, but the couple were country. And I had someone stop in because it just a similar situation. And they came in and they're like, we watched for about 15 minutes and you played all country music, and we hate country music.
Well, that's because you're a country DJ.
Exactly.
Based on their perception.
That's exactly what they came, and that was the reality of what they assumed I was. And at the time, the irony of it is that I was doing a country night at the bar every Wednesday night where I was 100% country, and by that time I was 4 years into it. So I could be that country DJ, but that wasn't weddings.
I was going to say, when I get asked that question now I at least know to say, you have to understand, if you went to somebody else's wedding, you're hearing and seeing their vision. And it's not necessarily going to be the same. They might have uplighting and moving heads and screens and dancing on the clouds and whatever, you know, the newest toy is, and you might not like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it immediately will put a bad taste in your mouth, because you went there with the hopes that this guy was going to do what we wanted and what we were hoping for.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to describe it.
I get lucky once in a while.
Yeah, that was a really nice way to describe it. Actually, I might have to steal that one.
Feel free.
So let's talk about, in order to be able to do this type of thing, moving to more of that entertainer side and do that, it isn't something that just happens. There's a lot of preparation to this. Let's kind of dig into some of the things that a person would kind of need to prepare to make it so that you can be that difference maker when it comes to creating wedding receptions.
Well, one of the things I do in my conversations with my couples is give out homework. And most people cringe at the thought of homework, but I do my homework, which is researching whatever I need for the wedding, whatever I need to know about the couples and special music, special dances. But I give the bride and groom homework. When you think about one of the, if not the most important moments at a wedding, is the bride and groom's their first dance. How many times has the couple danced to it before? Usually at their wedding, I find, is the first time they've ever danced to that song. They picked it out and they showed up at the wedding, and now they're going to dance to it.
Yeah, we like the song, and
So I give them homework. I tell them, pick a day. I want you to have a date night. I don't want you to talk about the wedding, but I want you to end it with a bottle of wine, and I want you to dance to your first dance by yourselves in your living room, wherever it is. That way you get a feel for it. You understand how long 4 minutes might feel. You might hear a point where you want to dip and get out of the song.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have an idea. Because the worst thing in the world is when the bride and groom are doing that romantic dance and the bride's doing okay, I'm done.
Yeah, or you can just see it. Not that, but just in their body language where it's like...
Well, I tell them that with the parent dances. So when was the last time you danced with Dad? And she's like, my communion. So she was 8, 9, 10, 11, somewhere in that ballpark. I said, what's going to happen is you're going to start dancing with Dad, and about a minute or so into it, you're going to be talking and smiling and maybe a tear, and then you're going to start looking around the room. And it's over. And the smart MC will read that and get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you should know ahead of time, are you going to dance the whole song? Do you want to cut it? But this is the homework.
Yeah.
A crazy thing is asking them to give you a parent's phone number. Hey, can I get in touch with your mom or your dad?
Mm-hmm.
And they, I have a question. Well, when I talk to the parent, it might be, was there something special? When you put her to bed every night, was there a song you sang to her? Little things like that, or something that you used to do together. Because you can incorporate that, whether it's into an introduction to the parent dances or even something with the bride and groom if you were doing a custom intro.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that you can find out homework-wise. And then there are things like the toasts. How often does the MC say, all right, we're going to turn the microphone over to our best man or the clergy who's doing the blessing, and not know where they're seated at? I see that all the time. So I want to know what table these people are sitting at. So I can go over 2 minutes before it and say, all right, Father, you're going on in 2 minutes. I will hand you the microphone, or however we're doing it,
right. Mm-hmm.
and know where he is and make sure he's in the room. There's nothing worse than saying, all right, the best man or dad for the dance, and they're gone. So I want the homework. I want to know who. I've had them send me pictures so I could identify who I have to deal with.
Yes, I've been using Facebook for that recently, and it's been
I want to know
really
who
successful.
I have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys do the anniversary dance?
Yes.
All right. I always ask it this way: do you do it the right way or the wrong way?
I do it. I do it so that I'm moving people in instead of moving people out. Because I don't want to send them to sit, because when you send them to sit, it doesn't work.
Well, because then you're trying to get them back up.
Yeah, precisely.
But now you want to recognize the longest married couple. I don't want to guess. So I know ahead of time from the bride and groom who the longest married couple is.
Yep.
So when I get to, grandma and grandpa married 53 years, I stop. I don't have to go 54, 55. But I also tell the bride and groom, go buy a bottle of wine, a picture frame, something, and we set up a nice picture, and we send them a copy.
Sure.
But these are homework issues. Now, one of my favorite things to give homework for is something that a DJ or an entertainer should not have any part of, but it affects us. You ever have a bride or lose your bride to get bustled? Her gown needs to be bustled?
Certainly. Mm-hmm.
Over the years, I've bustled my share of gowns. I've gone to bridal shops and learned how. but I really don't like having to go over to the groom and say, "Do you mind if I grope your wife for a minute?"
Yeah, for some reason that doesn't go over well. I
No,
don't know why.
it doesn't. They usually laugh. But what we do is part of the homework is when you go for your fitting, have somebody videotape your gown being bustled and send it to me. Carry it on your phone, but send it to me just in case you have other things going on. That way, if the gown needs to be bustled and the bridesmaid who was in charge of it is half in the bag, we can pull out the video and say, okay, that goes there, this goes there. And we save ourselves 10, 15 minutes of wondering where the bride is.
For sure.
So that's one of my favorite pieces of homework I give. And they always get a laugh out of it, but I have plenty of videos of a bride holding her phone with the video of her gown being bustled, getting it done.
That's a good idea.
Listen.
Yeah, it's a good idea because, if she has it, then anyone could do it. That's a really, really good idea. Oh, our time is starting to wind here. So let's talk a little bit about using collaboration to be a difference maker, collaborating with others.
Okay.
There's others that can help in this process to make it better than before.
One of the biggest problems I read on the boards is I hate working with this photographer, or I hate working with any photographer or videographer or maitre d'. And the reason for that is because there's no communication.
Yep.
The videographer, showed up at the wedding and said, "Here, I want to patch into your system." That should never happen. When you spoke to your bride and groom, you should have the phone number of the venue and who your maitre d' is, your videographer and their phone number, and your photographer and their phone number. And as the MC, I hate to say it, but you're in charge. You have the microphone. You're in charge. People will tell you they need a chair, their chicken's cold, where's the bathroom? Why? Because you have a microphone. So you're in charge, you might as well be in charge. Call up the venue 2 weeks in advance. Call up the photographer. Introduce yourself. Find out what they need. Talk to them about when they're going to take the bride and groom out of the room. Talk to the videographer. Do you need to patch into my system? What kind of connections? If you do this ahead of time, you now have created a team. You're all working together. You all have the same goal. And you don't have to worry. Because I know when the guy gets there from the video company, I have an XLR waiting for him. The photographer comes. I know when he's taking my bride and groom out of the room. He knows to let me know. I know I'm going to tell them 5 minutes before we're doing cake or garter or bouquet or any formality. So we're all on the page. And the cool thing about that is if you're nice to them, you reap the benefits. The photographer will send you pictures. The videographer will send you a demo reel or some raw footage. All because you took 2 minutes out of your day to contact them and go over things. And the maitre d's, if you're nice to them, they're nice to you.
Certainly.
One of the things I tell people all the time is if you go to a venue on a Saturday night to set up for a wedding, set up your sound system first. Even if you have a big light show, set up sound first, because what they do prior to weddings is they show potential clients the room. And there's nothing better than having your sound system up and that couple being shown the room and saying, "Excuse me, what are your names? I have to do a sound check." And welcome them to the beautiful venue. Tell them, "Oh my God, the food is amazing here. The staff is great." Even if it's not. Because that maitre d' is going to come up to you and take your card.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're going to appreciate that. And the couple is going to feel better. Going, "Wow, this was great." And they heard how you would do a wedding intro.
Nice.
Even if you're not the house DJ. So you're kind of cheating there, but...
Great tip, though. I mean, a great idea.
Yeah. I try.
So for those of you, we're talking to Mike Wieder tonight, talking about his book, Be the Difference Maker, moving from a DJ to more of an entertainer. The link for that is in the comments, it's in the comment section at the very top, but it's in the description area right now. So you guys can go click on that and go out and pick the book up. There's an ebook version, and there's a print one. You can get whichever one works best for you. That's down there. We got a few minutes left here, Mike, and we got to wrap up here, probably 2 or 3 minutes.
Sure.
So talk a little bit about the kind of a different direction here with the New Jersey DJ network. Let's kind of bring us up to speed on that, because we did something with that. I think it was a year ago that you and I did. I kind of jumped in with you guys.
Yeah.
Goodness,
about a
maybe
year ago.
2 years ago. I don't know. Anyway, so tell us a little bit about what's going on with that.
Okay, well, I am the new president of the New Jersey Disc Jockey Network, and we're trying to bring it back to where it once was. We're trying to bring in really top quality presenters, good content. But the cool thing that we're doing is, because of you and teaching me and telling me about Zoom, we are now having our meetings streamed live every
Nice.
month. We've also acquired new members from as far away as Alaska and Canada, California. They join our meetings, and some of them have actually become full members of the network.
Sure.
What we do is, not only are we filming the videos, the meetings live, we also offer it to our members and guests online so they can access it at a later point.
Very nice.
Similar to what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I pay attention.
Yeah, and then you've got that nice little core, that nucleus of local DJs who can network with each other outside of these Zoom meetings, where they can send events and help that whatever is needed.
Oh yeah, we all network
usually
together.
Defined as a statement that deviates from or perverts the truth, or
that was Alexa.
Or situated somewhere, occupying a certain position.
Alexa, shut up.
Alexa,
I don't know what triggered that, but
order pizza, Alexa.
Yeah, especially with the bird that does that. Our meetings, we take it outside of the meetings. We'll go to Top Golf as a group, or just have an outing so we can get to know each other. And we all network together, whether it's sharing ideas, sharing equipment. If you need it, we're there for you. Nobody has to worry. And like I said, we're attracting new members from other states because they feel that we have something valuable that we can offer.
Yeah, what a great idea. I like that idea an awful lot, because, again, you can extend and get input from even folks from Alaska. I mean, they're going to have different, as we've talked earlier, regional ideas and situations that we don't have. So it's a great idea. So, Mike, if people want to reach out to you and just to say hey, or if they have a question or anything like that, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
They could email me directly at mike@mikewieder.com, and it's WIEDER. I'm always available. I'm willing to talk. If you have questions, I have answers, or I can make up something that sounds like a good answer. If they're interested in the book, there is a sale going on a particular site. If they go to mikewieder.com, they can actually get the sale price.
Okay. That sounds good.
Can I just mention, do I have time to mention?
Go ahead.
A little thing. A lot of people in our industry tend to use two words that are very detrimental to the success of us. And those are professional and experienced. And to me, those are the two worst words, because everybody has it on their business card. Professional DJ. 25 years experience. Professional means, my favorite expression, you get paid for a service, not necessarily meaning you're good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll quote again, New York Knicks are a professional basketball team.
It's
so are the Golden State Warriors. Who would you rather have?
Yeah.
The New England Patriots are a professionally run organization. They cheat, but they're a professionally run organization.
And there goes our northern New England.
Oh, they know.
But
that's the whole thing. If you're going to use the word professional, remember, everybody else does. But if you run your business in a professional manner, it's different. And experience, if you're doing the same thing for every wedding you do, it's one wedding for 25 years.
Yeah.
But I use what I call the right experience, and what that is knowing what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So to me, I don't care if you've only been a DJ for a year or for 30 years. I want who has the right experience. And just because you're doing it a long time doesn't mean you're the most qualified.
Good point, and a good way to wrap it up tonight. Mike, I want to thank you much for being on tonight. A lot of good ideas and good information. And
Pleasure.
yeah, thank you guys for being with us tonight. We're going to, I've got a little break here at the top of the hour. Dan and MJ and I are going to be back, and we're going to give you the review of NAMM. And following the lead a little bit of digital DJ tips, Phil came out with some negative things, and we're going to talk about some negative things tonight from NAMM with the positive. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to be kind of a brutally honest show here at our next show in about 10 minutes. Once again, Mike, thanks for being on tonight.
Thank you. Stay warm.
Thank you.